Russian music is so funny to me because they sing it with lyrics in Russian. What else would they do? Sing in Spanish, English, French, Turdanese? Anyway, so this is part 3. The title is Don't Name the Cows, Don't Marry the Help. So there's this wise, perhaps intelligent approach to farming. If you're farming goats, sheep, cattle, any animal that you're going to slaughter, it's important that you don't develop a deep, close relationship with it, because, like an emotional relationship with it, because you're going to kill this animal. You're going to eat them. And so it's ideal that you not name the chickens you're going to slaughter, not name the goats or cattle that you're going to eat. Because if you do that, you develop a relationship with them. And that can be very painful if you have to slaughter them. Hello, car fan. We're telling another story. We're moving on to the story of Lamu. And by the way, these are just stories, It's Apex Christianity. We're talking about, this is just a story to kind of promote the idea of a golden age and our ability to create it. We're using this story as a narrative filter. We're creating a different narrative for the human story. And so our friend Lamu, who's a alien, he's actually human, but he's from another world, from another timeline, and his world is several 100,000, well, a couple of 100,000 ahead of this world as far as technology. And so, like I said, there's a saying in farms: don't name the cows, don't name the chickens, the goats, whatever. If you're going to kill and slaughter an animal and eat it, probably best not to name it, right? Because you're going to develop an emotional relationship with it. You're going to love it, and then you got to slit its throat and eat it. It's kind of weird. So don't name them. Leave them out in the field. Don't develop a relationship. If you want to have a pet, keep that in the house. Don't eat them, right? Because a psychopath would do that. Only a psychopath would name something, develop a loving relationship, and then slit its throat and cook it in an oven. So they say don't name them. You know, if you're going to eat the cows, let it be the cows that are way out there in the field that you don't have a relationship with. There's another saying among, in the antebellum South, any culture that had slaves or servants: don't marry the help. Because then you're going to develop a certain type of relationship with those people that's going to make it much more difficult for you to maintain a position of authority over them. Okay? So, she's my type. Anyway, so to have a relationship with the animals or with the people that you're lording over, that you're master of, or with the animals that you're going to slaughter and eat, is kind of a weird thing. So they say just don't develop that deep relationship. And that was one of the main warnings to Lamu when he came to this world: was don't develop too close of a relationship with the subhumans that live on that world. They think they're human, but they are not. They were the result of efforts to perhaps evolve a lower animal, efforts to, there were a lot of things that were done over the last 12 to 24,000 years to 6,000 years to try and bring, try to make this region of space viable for human life. And these proto-humans, these subhuman, ape-like, worm-brained peoples don't develop a spiritual connection to them. So don't marry them, don't have sex with them, don't develop this deep connection to them. And Lamu made a pact that he wouldn't. So when he came during the time of Göbekli Tepe, he only interacted with the aristocracy, who are actually human. They're called the Anunnaki, but the Anunnaki are not aliens. They were just real humans. 12-stranded DNA, just like, redwood trees have hexaploidal DNA or heptaploidal DNA, 7-stranded heptaploidal DNA. The bodies that we use here on Earth, they're only dual-stranded. So you only have a double helix in your DNA. Redwood trees have 7, okay, stranded DNA. Originally, humans have 12-stranded DNA. Okay, Lamu understood this, and he only interacted with those people. He only developed relationships with those people. 12-stranded humans, 12-stranded DNA humans. Hello, unknown Martinez. Welcome. We're just telling a story here. Humans that have 12-stranded DNA can live for centuries and millennia. And if you look at the old tables of kings among the Mesopotamians, they had kings that lived for as many as 70,000 years. These were humans. People only live 120 years, maybe 150. I have been told of an ancestor of mine that lived 136 years. Who knows? Okay? But we know that humans don't last, people of Earth don't last that long. And so Lamu was told when he first came to Earth, don't marry the help, don't name the cows. Meaning, don't ascribe to them human characteristics because they're not human. They're subhuman. They're an experiment. We're working on them. We're trying to get this thing going. We're trying to get this experiment off the ground. And so Lamu was told, again, don't marry them, don't interact with them too deeply. And so he agreed not to do that. So he came during the time of Göbekli Tepe, which was about 14,000 years ago. And when they decided, okay, we can close this experiment down, they shoved it all in the ground 12,000 or so years ago. There was a big rock that hit what's now Iceland, Greenland area, destroyed Hyperborea, and he had to leave the earth. He came back during the Assyrian times, again during Persian and Egyptian. He came back multiple times. The priests, sorcerers, and priestesses opened the portal each time, allowed him to come to earth. He took a body and interact with the humans. So he stopped interacting with aristocracy around the time that he wanted to understand stupidity. He wanted to understand human stupidity, and so he had to come during the 20th century. And because earlier than that, humans that were stupid, people, I'm going to be very clear about the subhuman people of Earth would die if they were not very intelligent. Something would eat them, their tribe would kill them, or something like that. Literally, that's just what the subhuman people of Earth would do. Hello, Prince Don 21. Okay, how you stay so consistent? I honestly don't fucking know, but I appreciate the question. I enjoy this. This is something that I actually enjoy. There's not very much else that I enjoy. I have a pretty engaging life, but yeah. So Lamu came here, and on his last journey, he came to North America, to the United States, at the early part of the 21st century. He popped in at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. And he knew that was one of his last visits to this world. And he thought, well, I think we can salvage these people. And the reason he believed that is because he broke the cardinal rule of naming the animals and marrying the help. He was taught not to have super deep emotional, spiritual connections with humans, the people of Earth, the subhuman people of Earth. Because in so doing, he would develop a profound love for them, which was forbidden. The sorcerers and priestesses and alchemists of the human world from which he came, the Anunnaki, the real humans, they said you cannot share genetic, spiritual information with them. It will cause you to be linked to that world, and you will fight unnecessarily to keep that subhuman species alive, keep them going. They're going to get wiped out. We've decided that. And there's not much that can change. We don't think that it's worth even shining the light of consciousness into that world anymore. And so, around the time of Lamu came during the Ottoman rule of the Mediterranean. He fell in love with one of the Albanian women. She was an earth person. She was an earth person. And he was told, don't name the animals. Don't name the animals. Don't marry the help. And he named the animals and married the help, meaning he developed a deep relationship with one of the earth people. Of course, she died because that's what earth people do. And, whether or not her consciousness continued on another timeline is irrelevant. She just wasn't here anymore, and she was imperceptible to him. He came back many times seeking to reconnect with her. Her name was Ishtar. We'll call her Ishtar. That was her name. Not her real name, but that was the name that we're going to give her. Lahmu fell in love with Ishtar and wanted to see her again. And he sought her everywhere he went because there was a spark in her eyes. There was a light in her eyes he had not seen in other, these earth people, these subhuman earth people. There was a light in her eyes that he'd never seen before. It was a light reminiscent of the women of his world, where he came from. And it was so strange because to see this light in an earth person to him was uncanny. It was uncanny. How could an earth person, this subhuman genetic experiment, have the light in her eyes like that? He was also told that there were many deceptions in this world, and things would appear one way but be another. And so when he met Ishtar and fell in love with her, it wasn't lust, it was deeper. It was something like the world that he came from. That's when he became hooked. He didn't tell the priests or the sorcerers or the alchemists this, but they knew. They knew there was a change in the energetic frequency that he was bringing back to his world. Every time he would excarnate, he would incarnate, be here for whatever the time period of the body was, 60, 80, 100 years. Then he would excarnate, return to his world and the lab, and he would come back through the portal, and they would say, well, what's the data? What do you have? And he would say, yeah, well, that was an interesting thing. I really do think we can salvage that world. I think we can raise the vibration of that planet or that plane of existence. And I think that perhaps we can do something about those proto-human creatures that live there. I think we can do something about them. I think we can bring them here. I think we can do something about them. And they said, no. There's a quarantine on that world, Lahmu. Lahmu, there's no way that we can save them. As a matter of fact, they were designed as a throwaway experiment. We only incorporated our genetics into the hominids of that planet so that we could understand our limitations. We didn't think that they would last this long. They weren't designed to last this long. But they saw that his energetic field was changing. He was becoming too wrapped up with these subhuman, proto-human people, the people of Earth. But they said, we'll keep approving your return to that place because it's it's an interesting experiment. Gather as much data as you can. We want to make sure we don't make that mistake again. KG says, man created God. Are you reading a Rick and Morty synopsis? Rick and Morty is telling this story just in a different way. I mean, this is not a new story. This is an old story, KD. This goes back a long time. Anyway, Lahmu fell in love with Ishtar. Ishtar had the light in her eyes that he had never seen in any other eye of a person on Earth. And he just kept coming back because he thought that light would return. He thought he would see it in another female or even a male of the species, some member of the species. The problem with the humans or these proto-human, subhuman creatures that lived on Earth was that the light that he saw in Ishtar's eyes only lasted up until about the fifth year of life. It was there from birth up until about 5 years, and maybe 7 years. And most humans of Earth, or the people, we'll say the proto-humans, the subhumans of Earth, that light, that spark that is humanity, that is divinity, would leave by about age 5. Some would last until 8. But after then, they weren't really useful for much other than just making more quasi-peoples. They would smash their bodies together, combine their fluids, and make more of themselves. And so Lahmu thought that maybe we can make that spark last longer. You know, during the golden age, we were able to keep it going for almost 120 years. They said, no, 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 no. He argued with the sorcerers, the priestesses, the alchemists of his world, and they said, no. You see, after the final cataclysm that destroyed the last vestiges of the golden age about 6,000 years ago, we decided that the God spark, the light in humans, the people that live on that earth, Noah, and that was the time of the last long-lived proto-humans that lived on Earth. They lived about 1,000 years. And so, to see that spark in this Ishtar, many, many